Dear Tiffany Haddish and Aries Spears, I, for one, am not surprised at what y'all did. But I'm surprised that y'all really thought it was okay to do. And having a sketch like that is really, to me, heartbreaking because I've seen it. And I'm going to talk about it. But I think that you guys are canceled. It's particularly in the Black comedic world. There's no coming back from this. Hey everyone, good afternoon. It's your girl, Miss Analytical. I'm coming to you straight out of NYC on this beautiful Friday afternoon, the start of the weekend. So I want to thank everyone that's been listening and tuning in to the last 3 commentaries I've uploaded on my channel. I appreciate the support and the love, and even the comments that aren't, so agreeing with what I have to say. I appreciate your input. I always say, as long as it's not disrespectful, I'm cool with it. So I want to talk about something I think is very important to discuss in our community. Yes, it affects all children, but it's something that's really not talked about in our community, really, and that's dealing with protecting children from predators, okay? We talk about women protection from abuse and predators, but we don't really have that conversation about our children until there's like a scandal coming about. And I think that's wrong, especially when it comes to our Black boys, okay? So, Tiffany Haddish and Aries Spears, they're being called out. And there is a lawsuit that has been filed against the two for a sketch that they made about 7-8 years ago. And I'm going to talk about it because I saw the sketch and oh no. So it reads from NBC News, Culture Matters. Tiffany Haddish and Aries Spears accused of grooming and molesting siblings in sexually explicit sketch. Lawsuit says. The suit, which was filed in Los Angeles Superior Court, alleges that Haddish and Spears coerced 2 siblings on separate occasions to take part in the skits, including one named through a pedophile's eyes. A woman and her younger brother have accused comedians Tiffany Haddish and Aries Spears in a new lawsuit of grooming them when they were children and coercing them into filming sexually explicit skits. The lawsuit was filed in Los Angeles Superior Court on Tuesday by siblings identified only as Jane Doe, now 22, and John Doe, who was born in 2007. Jane, who is John Doe's legal guardian, is a plaintiff in the lawsuit both individually and on her young brother's behalf. The lawsuit alleges that Haddish and Spears coerced the siblings when they were children to take part in sexually explicit skits in separate incidents, which they say stole the youth of a 7-year-old child and a 14-year-old child. The lawsuit was first reported by the Daily Beast. Attorneys for Haddish and Spears, however, have dismissed the lawsuit as a shakedown. Deborah Opry, an attorney for Spears, said the comedian isn't going to fall for any shakedown. In a separate statement, Andrew Bretler, an attorney for Haddish, said the plaintiff's mother had been trying to assert these bogus claims against Haddish for several years. Calling the allegations meritless, Bretler said Haddish had previously shown she would not be shaken down. Now the accuser's mother has her adult daughter representing herself in this lawsuit. The two of them will together face the consequences of pursuing this frivolous action, the attorney said. Jane said she and her brother are not surprised that Mr. Bretler would attempt to divert the attention away from me, the legitimate claims filed by my brother and me, to shift the blame and attention to our mother, who was not a party to this lawsuit. The siblings knew Haddish and Spears as children because their mother shared a close relationship with Haddish, according to the lawsuit. In 2013, Haddish appeared as a guest speaker at a summer camp Jane, then 14, attended. The lawsuit said during the visit, Haddish allegedly told Jane that she had the perfect role for her. Neither Jane nor her mother were aware of what the shoot would entail. The lawsuit alleged, adding, only Spears and Haddish knew the storyline for the skit. The skit ended up involving Haddish teaching Jane how to mimic fellatio. However, the lawsuit alleged. In the incident, the lawsuit said in a video had begun playing in the recording studio, showing an older man and a college-age woman arguing over the sub sandwich before eventually starting to eat the sandwich simultaneously from either end. The two appeared to moan and make sexual noises as they both ate the sandwich in a manner that simulated the act of fellatio, the lawsuit says. Physically, emotionally, and mentally uncomfortable, plaintiff Jane Doe mimicked the acts that Haddish and Spears wanted her to do so she could go home, he said. The lawsuit alleged that the next year, Haddish told the siblings' mother she had a role for the younger brother, John, then 7 for a skit. She only said it was a sizzle reel for Nickelodeon, the suit stated. The plaintiff's mother dropped off John and Jane together so that Jane could chaperone, but the siblings were told that they needed to be separate for the Nickelodeon skit, the lawsuit alleged. It said John was later stripped down to his underwear for a skit called Through a Pedophile's Eyes, about a child being left with a man, played by Spears, who leers at the child lustfully in multiple scenes before massaging John with oil and later getting into a bathtub with him and forcing the child closer to him in the tub. In the final scene, the child is portrayed as leering lustfully at Spears, who is wearing only shorts before beginning to rub oil onto his body. The lawsuit said the video ends with the words, "Watch who you leave your kids with," appearing on the screen, the lawsuit alleged. After filming, Mr. Doe called his mother crying, saying he did not want to film anymore, the lawsuit said. The lawsuit alleged that the plaintiff's mother repeatedly asked both Spears and Haddish about what was filmed that made her son cry, but Spears at one point told her the footage was still not edited and said he would get back to her about providing the unedited footage. Haddish said she did not have a copy of the footage, the lawsuit alleged, but said it was meant to be a funny skit. Days later, Spears told the mother that John had been so uncooperative that the footage was unusable and was deleted, the lawsuit alleged. It was not until around 4 years later, in June 2018, that the mother learned that the skit featuring her son had been published online, including on the Funny or Die website. The mother, upset, stated that she would have never let her son participate in a pedophile child pornography skit, the lawsuit alleged. Funny or Die found this video absolutely disgusting and would never produce such content, a spokesperson for the platform said in a statement. We were not involved in the conceptualization, development, funding, or production of this video. It was uploaded to the site as user-generated content and was removed in 2018 immediately after becoming aware of its existence, they said. The lawsuit alleged that both Jane and John have developed social disorders, with Jane unable to trust anyone since the incident and John suffering from depression and anxiety. They are suing Haddish and Spears for damages, and I say get them for everything they got. Okay? Because I'm going to tell you something. I totally believe Jane and John Doe because I've seen the whole video. Okay? So I'm going to tell you what was going on in the video, and then I'm going to give you my analysis as why this whole thing went down. In the video, there's 1, 2, 3 scenes, okay? Now, first of all, in the video, because the video, you might be able to get it, but they're probably going to scrub it. But if you're a member of Lovely T's channel, or if you're like a subscriber of Lovely T's channel, if you choose to become a member, or if you want to see it, you would have to be a member of her channel. So that's how I was able to see the whole video. So I'm going to give you a breakdown. The boy isn't wearing any clothes in the first 2 scenes. The first two scenes, he's wearing underwear, And Tiffany's character is the mother to the little boy. And she's like, oh, can you watch my son for me while I go outside, run to the store? And he's like, sure. And he's playing a man that had multiple keys, which means like, you know, he might be a janitor, which is a stereotypical job or a common job that a lot of pedophiles have, believe it or not. Another thing, too, is that in the sketch, they're playing R. Kelly's Bump and Grind. Now, that to me, as much as you may dislike R. Kelly, that song was not deserving in that, okay? Because R. Kelly has never been accused of harming little children, let alone little boys. That was wrong. And this is around the time when they're like, kind of like trying to build a case to put R. Kelly back in prison. So that's a whole nother thing about that. But anyway, he's wearing these boxes, and Ariesspears' character is supposedly reading a newspaper, but he has cut out eyes, and he's looking at the boy's butt. He's looking at his front, and then the little boy is opening his legs, okay? Then there's another scene where they're in the tub, and in the tub, he's basically, then he basically, before that scene, he pours the oil on his body to lather him up. Then what he does in the next scene, he's taking a bath, and he's basically coming closer to him, and it's just weird. But in the last scene, the tables turn, and the little boy is looking through him and like basically fantasizing over him being naked. That was a very important scene, that last one in that sketch, because that was basically saying that the little boy got turned out by Ariesspears' character, meaning that something went down. And what they were saying is that a lot of times when these young boys or little boys get, molested and sexually abused by men, what ends up happening is that they could either resent it, or they can either, and I hate to say this because I don't agree with this, but people will say that word turn out, and I hate that word because there's no such thing. But you will have boys who will actually be aroused because they've admitted it. They used to admit it a lot on the Wendy Williams show. They would call in and be like, Wendy, but I liked it. And so knowing that it's wrong, but the pleasure, they were saying that the little boy was pleasure. I believe that little boy has PTSD from that and social anxiety, and he don't trust people, okay? Now, and then he pours body oil on Ariesspears. Now, here's my problem with this. The little sister is not in the sketch. You don't see her at all. She's nowhere to be found. They separated them. Now, the sketch with the little sister, with the older sister, they didn't have that one up there. But I found it interesting that Tiffany Haddish said, it's going to be a sizzle reel for Nickelodeon. Peak game. Remember, Nickelodeon has been accused of, pedo, activities. So I feel that Tiffany Haddish went to that camp, and she had a relationship with this camp for a long time and was recruiting children to do this, because this is like the years in between Tiffany Haddish from being an urban household name, which is black, to being in movies, but nobody knew her in the mainstream world. And she was trying to be mainstream. So what she did was basically sacrifice those children to come up. And she made that video along with Ariesspears and basically put it online, and it was on ariesspears.com. The people in Hollywood saw it, and they said, we gonna hook you up. Now you about to enter the mainstream arena in comedy. You about to go into that multi-million-dollar club. We got you now, because she sacrificed the innocence of those little children. And the parents didn't know. The mother was like, I would have never signed my child up for that. And I believe her. Because if you watch that video, there's no way. Hopefully it's still up. Look it up. Look it up. I'm going to post the link to the article that basically has the title of the video. Now, Aries Spears, I was rocking with you mostly when you talked about Lizzo. But see, you can't do stuff like this and talk about Lizzo and say that she looks like a shit emoji when you was doing a sketch that was about destroying a child's innocence. You can't do that. Yes, at the end you had that disclaimer, watch who you have your children around, but still, y'all made a joke out of that. And that little boy was probably teased because people probably saw that because, you know, parents watch stuff, the kids get a hands on it, and it's like, oh, that person's for that video. You don't think that boy was going to grow up and have issues? And then you got the sister doing a video and like, I want you to simulate oral sex. I believe her. I believe her. I believe the mother. I don't believe the shakedown. Well, I believe they want justice because you used them and you didn't tell them what the whole purpose of the video was going to be. And here's my problem that I have. Just because they black, don't make it right. Because see, in our community, we have this thing where, oh, you know, I don't think that you should really go after them so much with it because, you know, they're black. And, you know, we tend to go after our own so quickly and stuff like that. Yeah, you're supposed to go after people like this that promote pedophilia. Whether they're doing it to the children or whether they're just promoting the idea of it, they should be called out. They was comfortable to basically do this to advance their careers because they knew that, hey, nobody's going to call us out. Why? Because we using children from our own race, our own community. But they didn't get white kids. They didn't do it to white kids. They did it to black kids. Because they knew that with black children, the repercussions at that time, it wasn't going to be dire because you didn't have movements like Me Too, Time's Up, and other movements. Now you have those movements. So it's like, we're not just going to go after the male predators. We're going after everybody. That's the thing. They didn't do that to them. So no one cared. No one cared about protecting those children. You know? And Funny or Die, they worked with Funny or Die. They did the Bill Cosby sketch. And also in the sketch with the little boy, they mentioned Michael Jackson. Aries Spears says Michael Jackson. He played R. Kelly. He mentioned Michael Jackson. You see that? But Michael Jackson didn't even do it, let alone would never even think about making a video like that. But I wouldn't have Aries Spears around my kids. I wouldn't have Tiffany Haddish around my kids. And you gotta remember something. I don't know if I talked about this on my channel, but when she did that thing that she did with her hair 2 summers ago, I knew something was off with her because it's one thing to basically get to cut your hair real close, but the way she did it, it was not normal. And it was just weird. And I said, no woman, particularly a black woman, would do that to their hair. Like, Jada did it because she said she was losing her hair. But even Jada, it looks nice on Jada. No, Tiffany, no. And I'm like, and then you walking around like that, and all these short hairstyles she had. I'm like, Tiffany, no. I was like, something's not right up there with her. But to me, I think they're both canceled. In our world, like in the black world, they'll probably still make money in the white world and so forth. But one thing's for certain, Tiffany's adoption dreams are canceled. They're not going to allow her to adopt the child. I can tell you that. She's been trying to be a mother for a long time. They're not going to give her the kids. So I think what they did was wrong. I think what they did was disgusting. And I'm glad that this lawsuit has been filed and has been accepted. And I believe they're going to walk away with the bag because they were kids. And the little boy is now 15 years old. He's now 15 years old. The sister, who is now his legal guardian, she's now 22, going to be 23. And the mother, I think the mother basically could have maybe just had a breakdown, or maybe the little boy feels that the mother sold him out, and that the sister advocates for him more. He wants to live with the sister. And I don't blame him. because Tiffany and her were friends. Supposedly, they were friends. But Tiffany was doing recruiting at that camp for this. And it helps her career. That's my belief. That's my belief. I believe she was a recruiter. I believe she was doing that recruiting. Well, with that being said, thank you for listening and tuning in. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share, and I will talk to you later.